أولياؤه إلا المتقون. As soon as a person makes tawbah on any type of sin that he or she may be committing, Allah Ta'ala guarantees that person to become his friend. The friendship of Allah Ta'ala becomes guaranteed by Allah Ta'ala for that person. And Allah Ta'ala mentioned in the Quran, in awliya'uhu, my friends are no one but illal muttaqun, those who are muttaqun. Ulama mentioned only a person who is abstaining from sin will become pious, and only a pious person, muttaqi person, will become a friend of Allah. It's a method that Allah Ta'ala has laid in the Quran. And of course, being a Muslim, we all want Allah's friendship. But there is an effort required, brothers and sisters, from me, from you, from all of us. Ulama mentioned that when Allah Ta'ala tells us something to do in the Quran, as a Muslim, if we have this ayah in our mind, La yukallifullahu nafsan illa wus'aha, Allah Ta'ala does not overburden anyone beyond his or her capacity to act and practice upon Islam. Keeping that in mind, Allah Ta'ala mentions in the Quran, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu ttaqullah. There is a sigha of amr. Allah Ta'ala is ordering. He's ordering every single human being or the believers, ittaqullah, attain piety. Ulama mentioned when Allah Ta'ala is ordering us to do something, that means it's within our capacity. But some people are still lacking of achieving that piety that is required by Allah Ta'ala for the friendship of Allah. Allah mentioned that the effort from our side is not put 100%. There's a very great scholar, he gives example that a cow, when she is milked, if she is containing 5 liters of milk in her belly, she will only give 4 liters of milk to her master. That 1 liter will be preserved for her own baby that will come to get fed by her. Allah mentioned that similarly, it's a very great example. Allah mentioned similarly, we are nurturing our nafs in our body. When the nafs comes to us asking, requiring to commit sin, we'll leave that 10, 20, 30% from our efforts reserved from getting close to Allah, and we serve with that 20-30% of effort to our nafs. Then I know that I can get close to Allah. Once I make tawbah, I know I have the capacity because Allah ordered to me, ittaqullah, attain piety. That means I have the power to do so, because the other ayat says, La yukallifullahu nafsan illa wus'aha. I do not compel someone beyond the capacity of the person. So when the order is given, I have the ability to do it. Am I using all of my ability to attain that? That is a question. The effort is required. There's a very great scholar is given an example about the life of Yusuf alayhi salam. He says, when Hajra, she locked him, وَغَلَّقَتِ الْأَبْوَابَ وَقَالَتْ هَيْتَ لَكَ. Quran mentions وَغَلَّقَتِ الْأَبْوَابَ. The doors are locked. Allah mentioned, being a Nabi, a very highly intelligent person, the caliber of his intelligence cannot be matched with anyone in the world. He's a Nabi, he's a prophet. They connect with Allah directly. Wahi comes to them. He like you and I, myself, could have thought, the door is locked, I know there's no way out. He did go to the door. He went to the door, closed to the door, locked door, saying to Allah. Allah mentioned this is from the tafasir, from the books of history. They say that he went close to the door, saying that, oh Allah, this was in my capacity to get closer to the door. Beyond that is the power in your hand. Allah mentioned that it comes in a tafasir that the doors were getting unlocked after one after the other, after the other, after the other. And then there was a point when they met with the king. And then it was there to be decided who was initiating this whole event. And then the Quran mentions the whole story. If the shirt is ripped from the back, then she is the one to be blamed. And if the shirt is ripped from the front, then he's the one to be blamed. Right? Those ayats are mentioned in 12th juz. So the shirt was ripped from behind because he was running away. Allah Ta'ala was opening the doors for him. He was doing his job. Allah Ta'ala was doing his job because that part was beyond his capacity, but he was giving his 100%. And then Allah Ta'ala saved him from committing that sin. But because of his kingship, because of his respect, because of what people will say about him, they had to punish na'udhu billah to a just because to show that my wife wasn't the one to be blamed for, it was his fault. Anyway, long story, we all know Yusuf alayhi salam's story. It's a very long story. He's a Nabi, he's Ma'soom, sinless person, of course. But ulama, for us, for the sake of ours, Allah Ta'ala mentioned in the Quran that we mention these stories so we can take heed from it. They're not there for our entertainment. Prophets did something, what they did in their lives is so we can take benefit, a lesson from their lives. For us, Allah Ta'ala mentions those stories for our benefit. Allah mentioned that we need to give our 100%. Try, and then we make tawbah, and then we have a fear. I made tawbah, I know that I have the power of going back to this sin. I know I have the means to go back to this sin. I know I'm going to do it again. That fear is coming from shaitan. But ulama mentioned that this fear is it fulfills the highest level of abdiyat, of being a slave of Allah. Because Allah Ta'ala did not give us all the powers. Certain powers are in our hands, the rest Allah Ta'ala has kept it with Him. So Allah Ta'ala, the ulama mentioned, scholars say that when you make tawbah with the fear that I am going to return to that sin and I will break my promise with Allah, ulama mentioned this is it, what brings you closer to Allah, because you are considering yourself naqis, incomplete. And then you're saying, oh Allah, I have made tawbah, I have already committed myself not to go back to it. You save me from not going back to it. قَالَ مَعَاذَ اللَّهِ. What did Yusuf alayhi salam say when he was in the event? قَالَ مَعَاذَ اللَّهِ. I seek refuge from Allah. Allah is the only one who's going to save me. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq and ability and practice to understand and practice to practice the deen of Allah as it ought to be practiced. We have a request from one of the brothers sitting here. His brother Khalid Abdul Alui, if I'm pronouncing the last name right, he's suffering with cancer. He's in the hospital. He's asked to make all of us dua for him, that may Allah cure him, Ameen, and may Allah give shifa to all of our Muslimat brothers and sisters, whoever is suffering from any type of disease and health concerns. May Allah give them shifa, inshallah, and may Allah help all of the Muslimin and Muslimat in general. Ameen.